You can spend a lot of money on shoes.
Some people have concerns about child labor, but
I think, wouldn't it be unethical knowing that they do exist and there's nothing? It would be unethical not to buy from them because it would put them out of work. Right? Probably an unpopular idea.
That's an unpopular opinion of the day. We should start out with an unpopular opinion of the day. Yeah.
You can be like Blake. The intro to Blake's podcast for Quackenbush Law Firm was that he didn't want his daughter to watch Disney because she wants her to like men. Blake has his baby started watching Frozen yet?
Maybe because of my daughter. No, we don't do the Disney thing.
Okay.
We want her to date men when she's older. I'm kidding.
But watch
Totally
it.
kidding.
Nice.
He's like, wait, are we recording?
Are we on the air?
And then
that's-
sure as shit, Pierre, my video editor, is like, intro.
It's like,
All right, welcome to the Real Alaska Podcast. I am your host and my trusty sidekick,
Billy Hughes, welcome everybody.
and we're here with
Dunbar Anders.
Dunbar. First off, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to see you both.
Who are you with as you're taking some water?
I am with Alaska Growth Capital,
Okay.
and we primarily do SBA 7A loans, and we also do some USDA credits as well.
So for those who are not primed up on what that means, can you explain what those are?
Prep the audience.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically they're specifically designed for, if a buyer doesn't have necessary down payment at a bank or they need some extended term, conventional term at a bank is going to be 20 years for real estate.
Okay.
We can do 25. And business acquisitions, they have a collateral shortfall. So you need to get an SBA guarantee in order to get those, financed and on to the next set of folks. So.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, for the business owner out there, what would you guys consider your bread and butter for Anchorage?
Gotcha. For Anchorage specifically,
Yeah.
I would say it's a business acquisition not involving real estate and, a book of business, some inventory, some accounts receivable. That is probably our bread and butter. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And, if there's, we can shore up those collateral shortfalls with additional credit or additional collateral, which may be more often than not is a second deed of trust or third deed of trust on someone's primary residence.
Yeah.
You got to look at it like, the institution is taking on more risk. We got to have additional collateral. And that's about the size of it. So.
Yeah, I think for most people who don't know, if you're doing an SBA loan, right, they're going to want personal collateral.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to lean your primary residence,
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. They'll lean your primary residence. If you do have Schedule E income, if you do have a rental property, that'll, probably more often than not, most likely be leaned as well. If you say you already own a business, you've gathered up enough assets and stuff, and you're trying to buy a commercial property, and the commercial property you're fully secured. Mm-hmm. That might be an instance where you wouldn't have to put a second deed of trust on someone's home.
Got it.
But
so no additional collateral besides the building and the business itself.
Correct. No cash to closing in terms of cash injection or down payment, because theoretically you've already built up those assets within the business.
Got it.
So you already have that equity, which is nice. Because there's a lot of folks out there. Most people start out with a lease, right? And so the idea is you have a profit and loss, right?
Yep.
And then you want to start building your balance sheet. It's all about getting assets, right? So your goal should be to get assets. If you're a tow truck company, you operate out of a lot. Well, it should be your goal at some point or another to buy that lot or a property,
Yeah.
a
Move your
shop.
operations.
Yeah.
So you own what you're working out of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's definitely tax benefits to that.
Certainly.
Tax benefits, plus it's just, property's a lot easier to lien and take back than inventory and stuff that's just maybe not so tangible,
Right. And inventory, it's such a moving picture. Like I'm been dealing with a couple of companies and, they're looking for buyers and whatnot. And it's like, throughout the summer, they're seasonal businesses. And, throughout the summer, it's like, inventory is very much a moving picture. And, and it's kind of an interesting thing, like when you're going through, you're doing an application, you're looking at, okay, this is what's been done in the past 3 years of tax returns.
Sure.
This is year to date. And then you can go ahead and look at projections, and getting that entire screenshot, you're able to tell a story as to this is a overall view of past, present, and future, and this is why we either believe in this company or individual or we don't. So but yeah, no, and it's important, I think, in my mind, just to maybe you've just started a business or maybe you're a couple of years in, go speak to a lender at some point, even if you don't need credit, because the best time to start searching and looking for a loan is before you need one.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So often businesses at some point or another, right, need access to credit.
Yep.
And so if you don't know where you're going to land, it's hard to have a strategy going forward.
Yeah, if you don't even know the numbers.
Yeah. I can't.
I thought I was crazy. I was like, well, I don't want to worry that the sky's falling, but I did that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm doing another phase of development for the lab space. And so I'm like, well, I don't need it now, but I will maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I started looking into it, and I was like, lines of credit. It's there's lots of really good options right now.
Tons.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so important to okay, this is all right, this is where I am. And maybe it's a no for the time being at a specific bank. But at least this is where I gotta be. This is where I need to be. This is my goal, and you'll be able to develop your financial future once you get that analysis. So
I mean, obviously, as I've grown as a business owner and an entrepreneur, right? These are all lessons that I learned
The hard way.
The hard way, right? I just luckily, I've created really good friendships and stuff over the years where I can lean on other people in the industry for advice, but I was not so great at asking for advice or just didn't have those connections and relationships built when I first started.
Yeah.
And so Billy and I, when we talked about creating the podcast, it was, of course, being in the real estate industry, we're we're just going to do a real estate podcast. And then it was well, there's 1,000 of those.
True.
Right. We're just going to be muddled
Several.
muddled in the water. Right. No one was really doing anything business related as far as podcasts go and anything about Alaska based businesses.
Yeah.
And it was a topic near and dear to both of us because we have a lot of just, business owner friends and other entrepreneurs that seek advice, et cetera.
Yep.
And man, I didn't want people to do the exact same thing I did,
Yeah, that's...
And Alaska's so separated from everywhere else.
There's a lot of good business stories to be told. Interesting stuff. A lot of people came up here with nothing and bootstrapped something into a multi-state or international business, and they're really doing it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
if
it's just
you came up here in the 70s or 80s, you got some assets.
You got paid.
You got paid.
It's also where do you start? A lot of the national companies don't lend in Alaska.
True. Yep.
So you make these phone calls. Private money lenders don't lend up here. You have to find people local, and it's you're okay, now where do I start? Who does this? So it's creating those relationships with the bank or Alaska Growth Capital or who does what for loan types because banks won't take swings at certain things. Yeah. Where you guys will.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so
also not that easy to find out on Google.
No,
not really. Right.
No.
We are so
Zero.
limited up here. I was talking to a guy from Chicago. He's thinking about buying a business up here. He's like, yeah, I went to like 10 different banks here in town, and none of them will lend to Alaska. And it's ditto for Hawaii too. But it's just, and it sort of makes sense too. It's a hard sell. Like, oh, hey, loan committee, I want to spend a couple of $1 million of the bank's money on this business in Alaska. Which, and not only that, doing a site visit is a plane ride, or if anything goes wrong with the business, you get, maybe you have to come up here, or and not only that, the institution, say institution in Chicago, like they're going to be familiar with Illinois' foreclosure laws and sort of have a general set of parameters and understanding of how the process is going to go. So.
Well, they probably built out all their overlays and all their controls specifically for those states.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That
was eye-opening for me.
For sure.
You start shopping around or just having these conversations with different PMLs, especially, you go on the internet or you go on these Facebook groups and you're like, hey, I'm looking for this. And there's like, 4,000 people are like, I'm happy to help you. And then you call them and they're like, oh, yeah, we don't service Alaska.
Yeah.
You're like,
dang it.
Like,
dude,
this would have been a good option, or I'd like to help you, but.
The deal sounds great. We don't service Alaska.
We don't service Alaska.
You're like, what the hell, man?
It's like that with shipping stuff too.
Yeah.
Like the logistics for opening a new business is kind of tough because if you unless you can source it locally, then it's a nightmare, dude.
Startups in Alaska, you have to be so scrappy because, you just imagine whatever you think you're going to spend on COGS, it's going to certainly be more. And it's just so important to do your due diligence on a startup up here because just the shipping cost alone.
Eats you.
Fuel prices, it absolutely eats you, whether, you're doing new construction or whatever the case, but tariffs, I remember during the pandemic doing a construction loan, I was like, oh yeah, cost of lumber, okay, increase 20, 30 grand. That really hurts your total project cost. It's like, oh, sorry, dude. Sorry, folks. Those cash reserves we spoke about. Yeah, you're gonna have to be pulling on those right now. Either that or call Rich Aunt Lucy.
Yeah. It's.
Can you text me her number after?
Yeah. Hit her up.
I know. Yeah, I'll take that number too, bro.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Okay, well, but you were always at Alaska Grow, so you came from banking as well. So
yeah, and that is where a lot of the referrals come from because you get a call like, hey, I'd like to do this deal, but XYZ, or hey, the bank can't do this. A lot of times or by and large part even, I would say if a lender can't, their loan to values are what they are, 75% loan to value. And more often than not, they're not willing to step outside of that. So if they don't have it, they'll send them over to us and, we'll take on greater risk, And so we'll step outside that, 75 loan to value norm and kind of step in there and take a little more risk. We'll do different things like, hey, you don't have the full down payment. Conventional loan down payment 25%.
Right.
So SBA 10%. Half of that can be financed through a seller note. So that really helps more people get into to a business. So
the SBA is doing 75% of the purchase value.
Yeah.
Right. You're doing as the borrower, buyer. You're doing 10.
Correct.
But you could do a fraction of that 10.
Exactly.
You could do half of it.
Exactly right. You can do half of that amount.
So you could do 5%, and then the seller can carry 20.
The seller can carry whatever
up to half the value.
So the seller, you can, and this is how you get around this. So of the equity injection, specifically the down payment so that 10%, 5% can be carried by a seller carryback.
Sure.
Now, if the seller wants to do another note, they can finance, however much of the total project cost they want.
Yeah.
That's no problem. Yeah. And so
if you had a $200,000 owner finance whatever, and then it was like $1 million. Yeah, that's okay.
And then the remaining amount or approximate remaining amount you can do through Alaska Growth Capital or whoever your local SBA
so
lender
really
is.
I could get someone into an owner financing as long as we draw it out the right way. Then I can come to Alaska Capital and be like, hey, I got this thing. I need this much cash to make it work.
Yes. And so what's sort of interesting, like, you know, you're doing a lot of business lending. You're really gonna. There's more documentation. There's gonna be pretty much always you're gonna need some projections, business plan, just the works. You know, so you're gonna need everything. In addition to your 3 years of business tax returns and profit and loss statements, all that year to date stuff.
Are you guys working with SBDC a lot?
Work with SBDC. Business advisors, which it's interesting. Like I'm starting to see like more business advisors pop up around town, and like they're sort of like jack of all trades type folks. So where they like, hey, I can, help you understand like a little more of your like accounting aspect or point you in the direction of a good CPA or a
tough to find
broker, realtor, that. Yeah. Like just a general, hey, you need to be counting this in your profit and loss or like, don't do that, It's just, it's good to see that, there with, especially like with, hate to say it, but like, divorce deals, stuff like that, like having a business advisor, especially you find a lot of times like, one spouse or another specialized in this, and maybe that's the finances, and the other one was just like solely focused on operations.
I see that actually a lot.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they split, and then it's like the business is not quite right, so they have to hire somebody to take up,
Right. Yeah, and it's like, I've saw that a bunch myself too, and it's like, I always recommend like, hey, if it's a partner buyout, like after, the dust settles, like, check in with your CPA. You may want to change out CPAs. Maybe that was your ex-partner's CPA. They had a certain way of doing things that you might not, you may disagree with or want to do differently or take advantage of some write-offs or, or don't, whatever. And so definitely recommend of doing like a post-closing analysis of the operation of the shop.
Of just everything.
That
makes a lot of sense.
And so often I feel like, as a business owner, you get so enthralled with day-to-day operations, as you should, as you need to keep your eye on the ball. So many different aspects and elements to be managing, but you should really take at least once a quarter or just, some amount of time to like assess the operation. Like, hey, could I do this differently?
Mm-hmm.
Could I not do that differently? Maybe write that stuff down and like review it later. Hey, did I do this or did I do that? Because a lot of times I think folks are leaving, money on the table or, operating with some pretty decent inefficiencies and stuff like that. So it's just good self-checking. Self-checking, as they say.
I've realized, in just running real estate on top of, the cost of real side of things, how inefficient some people are. And because we try to optimize everything with either automations or some type of like AI tool or whatever else, because it frees up your time.
Yeah.
Right. And if you free up your time in an automation or something like, you're not paying an employee to do those things.
Sure.
So you're able to take on more to increase your revenue without additional employee costs.
Yeah.
It also just makes you way more efficient,
dude.
And so
that's so important in Alaska. Like labor is expensive here.
Super expensive.
A plumber come out, take a look at something
too, right?
$175 an hour for a plumber.
It's inconsistent. It's hard to get people to show up. It's hard to find good people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that go with that.
Right.
And then the time suck involved too.
Absolutely.
There's so many tools available, but it just, having talked to multiple businesses for sale and owners, they haven't implemented anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, software would probably eliminate half of your daily
so
like,
is that a computer
time
thing?
dedication.
Where's it soft and where is it?
So I'm like, man, I think people don't realize just increasing, like, time is your biggest, like, just inherent
absolutely
issue with any business as a business owner is how do you dedicate all the time to all these hats?
Right.
Because most small business owners don't have the income to be able to afford someone for every hat,
stuff out,
right?
Right.
So they're doing all of it, but at the same time aren't optimizing anything in their operations to save time on certain hats. And I'm like, dude, do you just like punishment every day? Like 365 days a year of punishment?
I can't tell you how many people I've seen like on a NSF, like a non-sufficient funds list, and then when you're at you're at a bank and you're looking at the who's overdrawn, and so often it's the same people, and it's like, hey, if you would implement something called auto pay, you could this could be solved, or whatever the case may be.
And it's a leak in fees too, because they get pinged with the fee and all that stuff.
Yeah, dude, $35 a pop.
And then you got somebody running a check. They're taking, they got to go here, get this check. And
right.
So it's like auto pay is what?
Why are we not doing this? Like, like so, and that's something I call like the old school Alaskan sort of mentality, where everything's manual, everything is not automated, and it's certainly inefficient. So my point is it's definitely a generational thing. It's very much
100%.
Like for I would say a baby boomer thing. Not stepping into that. Their whole lives, labor has been cheap. And so you're I mean you're dealing with some folks who there's been low labor costs their whole lives, and now it's like dramatically changing, so and changing very, very rapidly.
Dude, it's like 200% over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
substantial. At that same time period, though, we have AI innovation and all this other stuff. So the people that are, if you implemented those things, or if you're an early mover on that stuff, so as that increase of labor goes, and so the people that don't adopt, their margins are going to shrink over time.
Absolutely.
Right? And on the flip side, we can reduce our cost and increase our volume. Right. By just implementing the tools. So
Exactly. Like having those tools out there. I've saw different things online, like in you all's field, like, okay, they get on your website, you have a couple of businesses listed there or whatever. Okay, like auto send, NDA or stuff like that, where it's like you don't, boom, they get a DocuSign, stuff like that, and it's like, wow, that is really cool. And I mean, I can definitely tell you, there's a lot of redundancy in banking and whatnot, and overall in general, we're behind the times here in Alaska.
Big time.
Not exactly Silicon Valley up here.
No. I mean, we're a decade behind in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, it's rapidly changing. It is. There's just, like I say, there's just not as many people in the workforce as there has to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just back years ago, you were a loan officer and you did 100% of your own underwriting, and that's the way it was. You had a loan admin person, or you didn't if you're in a remote branch. This is for Alaska, anyways. But like most people, most places, there's underwriters, and you bring the loan in, they do the underwriting, and then and it allows you to turn more deals.
Right.
And it's really like becoming all about speed and like a lot of these banks, like matrix systems will be like they're already in place at different institutions, and I think they'll just become more and more automatized. I mean, Rocket Mortgage, for example, it is really, they're probably leading edge or close to leading edge. They're a little loose with that shit, though.
They're a little loose.
They're probably a little loose.
I mean, because the back end of all that software is all based upon the input of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's consumer reporting.
Yeah. And so it's like if the input is a little not 100% honest, right? Then the back end part of it's going to be not 100% honest.
Because I get those prequals that are like Rocket Mortgage. I'm like, okay, we're also going to talk to this guy,
right?
Yeah,
and then and it's usually a start.
Yeah. Rocket Mortgage is like an interesting case study. Like I say, they're kind of on the tip of the spear. I think Did they? I think they just acquired was it Redfin or Realtor.com?
Yeah.
So it's it's interesting. So they're like building out their sales funnel, and so I was like, they're just going to push people right to Rocket Mortgage. And, yeah.
Smart.
Well, they're building the whole. They're taking the entire aspects of the buyer experience, right?
Building verticals.
And then building vertical, so they own the client for the entire duration of a purchase. Right? From the mortgage to the real estate, the realtor side of things, right? To the title part of it. I mean, they capture every single piece of profit off that.
Yes.
So
and then it turns it into an experience-based thing for the consumer, right? Because now you have this vendor that's in charge of the whole entire experience.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
On top of that, too, is they can reduce fees to make themselves far more competitive because because they can move fees from one part to another part or whatever else to be competitive. And then they also bought, I think, like a bank or something like that. So now they can hold all their loans.
Yeah, and service them all.
So they service everything. So like they can reduce fees on the front end and then make it all up on the back end. So so then you're like, okay, well now they're really competitive because all these brokers have to sell off their loans, and they're like, well, we can keep 100%.
Yeah, well, and then also if you're doing like a huge quantity of, say, a residential loan or whatever.
Economies of scale, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, then I can charge less because I'm getting, 10 people for every competitor's 100%.
One. So.
Well, that's something we were talking about we were in Texas, remember? They were talking about how these big builders come in and they have really low interest rates. I was like, how are they doing that?
Yeah.
And he kind of broke it down. I was like, oh, that's smart.
Yeah,
it's like 3%, 4%,
and they just have like such an advantage to us, like Texas and Florida, those different places. Like you can build out, here you got oceans and a mountain right here in Anchorage, anyways. And so it's like you're really sort of limited in terms of your build out of what you can do. Like so much of Anchorage has been built.
Labor's.
And labor.
So much cheaper there. A third of the cost.
Yeah, right near the border, the labor's cheaper. I wonder how they're doing this.
No idea, man.
No idea.
Qualified's qualified, right?
Right.
Yeah.
As long as it passes inspection, we don't care.
It's just, we're just so far remote. It's and our workforce is shrinking heavily.
Absolutely.
The last decade.
Absolutely.
Our actual working age workforce, AEDC put out all this stuff.
Right.
It has been every single year showing the people that are staying are getting older and the people that are younger are leaving.
Yeah.
Like at soon, there's going to be no one here to take care of the people that are getting older, and the entire workforce is leaving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And why is that? It's like so expensive for someone to buy a home here. And
that's a lot of factors.
There's a lot of factors, but also I think I saw something.
Walk downtown. You'll see a lot of those factors laid on the sidewalks.
That is true.
A strong factor,
That is true. But a lot of people go to college elsewhere, and don't come back.
Job opportunities.
Yeah. We're so limited here in terms of industry, and that there's basically no manufacturing or very little manufacturing. You got oil industry, fishing, which is obviously anything like the minimal agriculture. Fishing has definitely had its issues and is in flux and change right now. And so it's just limited as to what you can do.
It's basically government and healthcare.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a
energy development, mining. Resource development.
And it's just interesting. It's like the state has been oil money drunk for so long. It's just like we got money, and now it's like, well,
I know.
Pull the gas off just slightly here.
Took 2/3 of the PFD this year because
unbelievable. It's like, we're taking this. It's one of the perks of living in Alaska, and something that most every Alaskan, I would say, is has an endurance for. Has a it's take your kids on a trip to Hawaii, you know, do whatever, make an extra payment on your house, whatever, you know.
Go drop every PFD at Best Buy or Costco.
Right, like, let me get the latest
car
big
dealership.
screen.
Yeah, all those sales
All those sales.
Depending on how many kids you have, a week of groceries.
A week of groceries,
yeah, seriously, dude.
Yeah. Are you Mormon? Are you Catholic? Yeah. Oh gosh, no, it's interesting to see the state sort of change and like, but not really, because it's like no one's like, I sort of look at it, I'm like, hey, this appears to be a serious issue, and they're like, yeah, well, we got no solution, so. Kicking it on to the next. Like,
dude,
we hope you guys figure that out.
Yeah, hope you guys figure that out one day. Deuces.
Anchorage and the state are both really good at doing that.
Right. Like, where's the can and how far are we going to kick it? Okay. Yeah.
It does seem that way, right?
Yeah. We're just going to kick that right down the road and not address any issues.
Right.
We're going to talk a lot about them.
Issues? What issues? Don't look over here.
We're going to hire consultants to tell us about these issues.
Right.
Do 14 studies.
Right. Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Spend $10 million on studies about the issues.
Right. So that we can have a structured argument about it later.
Yeah.
To help us focus on potential policy to fix the issues.
Right.
But that study's now old, so we have to actually do another study.
Right.
So let's do another one, and then in 2 years, when that study's done, we'll revisit it.
Right. Well, it's got to be revised, Justin. I mean, we want accurate information here to make these policies.
Oh my God, dude!
Yeah, it takes them so long to do anything.
Right. And then you
you know what? It's so funny because it's like people are like, you should go into politics, and I was like, the part of it is, I actually like to solve problems.
Right.
So you'd be kind of restrained in that situation. You know?
Yeah. It's.
I would at people left and right.
It's just, that would be good to see. I would pay good money for that.
We could probably run that slogan.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, and there's
slapping people.
Dude, I would last fucking 6 weeks.
Dude, just be known as Alaska's like slapping governors.
I couldn't wait to see those smudge campaigns though. They'd be like, he said he would slap people, right? Or whatever.
I didn't mean actually I meant
pimp slap. I'd pimp slap them, dude. I'd take a glove off the hand. I'd smack them. Like, maybe I could smack some common sense into your ass.
Yeah, there you
go. Or some education or something, because you're a idiot.
Yeah, I don't know what. Politics sucks. It's just it's so toxic.
It's a garbage hole.
Like, on both sides, it's just
totally getting canceled. That statement.
Yeah,
somebody's got to do it, right?
Somebody's got to do it, and I'm so glad it's not.
Well, unfortunately, I think it's attracted from generations have shifted, right, and to people who were committed to trying to make change and blah blah blah.
Right.
And it has turned into like this cesspool of like power hungry people who, I mean, it's just this. Like, and no matter what the constituents vote or say or whatever, they don't ever change their policies to match the constituents.
Right.
I'm like, do you realize you are hired to do like what they say? Right. Like,
hey, this
is not your personal agenda.
Right. There's full on video of you saying what you're gonna do, and now you're not doing it. So
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that on top of it, you've got the media that skews everything and over dramatizes everything.
When it's all
and
weaponized now, which is wild.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Like, it's a cesspool, dude.
You all remember 9/11 and all that, right? And you couldn't find media that was putting out a different picture, and now it's like just everyone's got 100,000 different takes, which is good. It's nice to have a variety of opinion, but man, it is well, there's no crazy
actual journalism anymore.
There's no facts. It's all attacking people and drama and gossip.
Yeah,
right?
It's selling products. It's
you're selling clicks.
Media. Yeah, exactly.
That's all you're doing. Like, there's no journalism at all. Right. Like, it is something happens and there's an article within 4 minutes. You can't tell me you researched the subject in 4 minutes. Like, dude, zero.
Zero research.
So you can't trust anything that the media puts out at all.
It's all so well curated. So I found something.
It's super biased, very curated.
Instagram yesterday. I was going through, I was watching this video. It's like a new product. So I'm like, what is this product? I go to Google it, which is what it wanted me to do, right?
Yeah.
It pulls up, the website, a video, another YouTube video on the thing. Right below it, there's a peer-reviewed article.
Interesting.
Talks about the efficacy of the thing.
Yeah.
And so I click that and I go down and I look and I'm like, who owns this? And I go click, it's the same company, right? So it's all really well curated
out. Pharmaceutical is too.
And they're using peer-reviewed papers and all this other stuff to support the sales. I'm like, this is really
paid peers.
High level sales, It's like, these are well laid out.
It's like back in the day, cigarettes were healthy for you. Like, hey, ladies smoke to lose weight, stuff like that. Like, it's crazy.
Marijuana is terrible for you. Smoke cigarettes. I wonder who pushed that.
So
the lobbyists, the tobacco lobbyists, definitely push that.
I like how they made hemp illegal, whereas there is no there is hey, this is made to use made to make paper and just all this stuff,
building materials, all kinds of stuff. They shut that down.
It's was like, oh, that's a
it's actually an interesting story about how that came about.
Very much so.
Follow the money.
Very much so. Oh yeah.
Follow the money.
William Randolph Hearst.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. No,
see. I told you, rabbit hole, dude.
Seriously, we're hopping in one.
It was like the corticator or something like that. That would have been essentially like the cotton gin, but for hemp.
Oh, okay,
and
gotcha.
when that hit the scene, they were like, "We got to shut this shit down."
Yeah. Hey, no,
because they own paper mills, right? And so
you're messing up the money right
against
now.
the paper. Yeah, so
yeah.
Follow the money.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's really interesting how it's basically the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Like there's stuff right now that's it's just it's going on right now. It's just it's nuts. So yeah.
Yeah,
it's I know Elon. I'm sure you guys are seeing the Elon Trump thing. Yeah,
it's
dude.
so awesome.
It's like these are the days of our lives.
But that might be the thing that gets the list published, though.
Yeah,
right. Because now Democrats are like, wait a second, Trump is on it. We want to see it now.
Right.
We want to see it, and then I think they should disclose it.
Absolutely. Why not?
Maybe that they don't want to re-victimize the people. I mean, I get that thing.
Who knows?
And then, there's probably a bunch of complex stuff that I didn't think about, but I do want to know.
Yeah. It's just it seems like a big open question in our society, and just as an element of transparency.
It'll come out in 30 years.
Yeah.
Also, I assume aliens are real, but can you tell us now?
Right.
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
Just throw it out there. A lot of people believe they're real anyways.
Right.
So let's just. Hey, what's yours?
Might as well.
Yeah.
Here's a picture.
Right, I think with that, maybe they don't want to tell us because they're from here and they've always been or something. They're living in there.
It's just Jabba the Hutt. It's real. It's a real character.
Jabba, yeah. This was actually a real entity. Yeah.
People would lose their minds.
Oh yes, they would. Star Wars is real.
Star Wars is
George Lucas is a genius.
Right. This is actually a Matrix. Star Wars is real. Yeah.
Right.
Dude, I'd lose my mind.
Oh my god.
Was it the lady that made Terminator? She was like, no, it was like a documentary or whatever. Like what?
Yeah.
That's a weird interview if you ever watched the video.
I'll have to check that out. It's it is interesting.
I didn't look that up too.
With AI. It's is this cat already out of the bag? I feel like if some sort of AI company is called Skynet, we should probably build bunkers immediately.
I almost wanted to
Starlink is pretty close, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, if we think about that, they're one of the competitors for. They're sending their robot to Mars. Did you see that? Was it coming out soon?
Right. It's funny that how when we were kids and whatnot, is who's going to go to space? NASA. You didn't think any private company would ever do something like that. Now.
Well, it's because space exploration was still an international competition, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, funding just dropped off, right?
Right.
And then
USSR
besides the International Space Station, no one has really pioneered anything for a long time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. I think it's almost like a ruse.
Yeah.
It's like a distraction.
It's a good way to bring in more taxpayer money. Yeah.
You can go turn off the light,
it's a conduit to absorb money for other projects that they don't want people to know about.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, how do you justify spending $100 trillion? Well, we're going to space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. And by the way, this is off the books, but we're knocking off this foreign government, that one, and this one.
And in the meantime, they have underground bunkers in Antarctica or whatever the fuck they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's SpaceX and just being able to reuse rockets has completely propelled satellite investment and like space investment because the cost is so less prohibitive now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what was like 1/20th of the cost of normal.
It's crazy.
Normal launching
it's
now.
Crazy.
Well, and then too, they got rid of all the waste and abuse that probably exists in the government system. Right?
Absolutely. Like when they were finding out, like if you retire from the federal government, like the paper that.
Isn't that deep mine vault thing? Like somebody has to walk 6 miles in a vault. Like paper.
Only a certain amount of federal employees could retire at a time because the elevator was so slow. It was like, what?
That's wild, right?
Dude,
is this real?
It's real.
It's like in your wildest imagination, if you took 100 hits of acid or something and you tried to write something crazy, like I don't think I could come up with that.
Like inefficiency is so terrible, that would be it.
Right, exactly.
The restraining factor was the elevator.
Right, exactly.
Like, we get some grease on this?
Yeah, it's like,
what
dude, like, can we speed this thing up?
Meanwhile, like, they had just a news announcement the other day. Japan had broken the record for how much data sent through fiber.
Wow.
And it was like 200 terabytes a second or something like that.
That is crazy.
Meanwhile, the United States has this guy with a flat cart going to get this 4 boxes of freaking papers for this one employee.
Yeah.
Take this elevator down a mine shaft and it's deep.
That's what I just imagine, like an old man pushing a cart and, he's got like a bad back. He's got to stop every once in a while.
Meanwhile, Japan's transferring as much data as their entire population combined in 1 second.
Right.
Right, they're doing stuff, man.
It's like, I think we could upgrade this. Maybe a thumb drive. What about a floppy disk?
Something. Yeah. Even the bank tubes.
Right.
The vacuum tubes those that the banks have been around for like 60 years. Like, whoosh,
forever.
Dude. It's about as inefficient as you get, dude. It's like 1800s, dude. It's like a horse-drawn carriage comes and picks it up.
We had one of those in the OR when I was working at the surgery center. Whatever you could just put stuff in the tube.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
That is awesome.
Because I was going up and down, up and down, up and down. I was like, we'll just use this.
Yeah. It's like an eyeball.
Yeah, wonder what else you could put in there.
I know.
Is there like a weight restriction?
Dude, but
how much stuff can you fit?
What like throw a softball or tennis ball up in there and what would that?
I'd be curious to know how that works.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you work in the medical industry at a hospital, let us know what you can send and not send to those tubes. Comment down below what you think. Please, we're super curious. Yeah. Even though we're talking about SBA funding and Alaska Growth Capital.
Right.
This is for data purposes only.
Exactly.
Internal data.
Right. So if your business is, selling air cannons so you can shoot T-shirts out at concerts and stuff like that, hit me up for financing.
Yeah.
That's cool, yeah. Didn't you guys try to buy one of those? So when you gonna buy one?
We talked about buying something like that. For like our app launch was like a T-shirt cannon.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be fun.
That'd be cool.
And but then we realized that they are really only meant for like stadiums where you got to like really launch because they legit come out.
It got a lot of firepower.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You don't want anyone within like the first 20 feet, 30 feet of that. Like,
yeah. You're
going to injure someone.
Yeah, kid's birthday party, just boom.
Dude.
How good is your liability insurance?
It's a golf ball launcher, dude. It's just boom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your insurance carriers drops you immediately.
Yeah.
One video.
Which
done.
That's interesting. You're starting to see that in California and stuff too. It's like, you know, there's starting to be like, you know, insurance carriers. Like I believe State Farm pulled out in entirety in California. Maybe if your grandfather.
Well, their politics are like.
They maybe a little. There are a couple of issues.
Some strong points. Where they basically said, "Hey, you guys have some serious logistical issues in California that you're not addressing with policy. Right. So, like, as a risk reduction, we're just going to pull out, right? Because you guys are doing nothing to mitigate these fuels, right? And it's basically a tender. We don't want to insure it.
Well, and if you can't get insurance, you can't get a mortgage. That's the next thing. And so,
or you pay us, or like you got to reduce the amount that you purchase because your insurance is so high.
Right.
You know?
So I met someone that basically that had happened to them and their insurance doubled.
So
basically they didn't know.
Yeah.
And so they got their mortgage and they were like, whoa, this is like $4,000. Like, I can't afford to pay this.
That's crazy.
Right. And so I had to sell their house in California because they can't afford to pay their mortgage because of the insurance component.
Right.
Wild.
Right. That's just, that definitely makes it tough to live there when, like, you know, not only are people, like, priced out of the market and whatnot, but, like, the stuff I actually need to do this is, you know, insurance and what have you.
And it's mandated by law. It's not like you can opt out.
Yeah. It's like, it's not like it's an option. It's not like it's life insurance or some other kind of insurance.
And they can just change that rate whenever they want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Condos in Florida, same thing.
Right. And I mean, like, they have normal, like, built-in features to insurance, like, you know, like inflation escalation causes and this type of thing. But just to like pull out completely, like that's max NAR, as they say.
Dude, that's rough.
Yeah. Well, it's the people that live in California that are the victims of that now, I guess.
Yeah.
The victims of policy, the very constituents of the
they keep
officers.
Voting in their
I was going to say they don't really people, change.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, they keep electing the same officials, you know, that keep putting these ridiculous policies in place.
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Dude, it was like their minimum wage went to $20 an hour.
Right.
And like all of these minimum wage people were like, or these wage unions were like, labor unions were like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. And then immediately all these massive companies were like, we're reducing staffing by 50%. We're terminating these 3 locations. And you're like, oh, well, now you're not employed.
Exactly. And so it's like kiosk.
Yeah.
And so it's
now
like,
replaced.
Yeah. And so now you're replaced. And so it's like
kiosks are great.
You're gonna force automation is what you're doing.
Right.
You know?
Right. And that's really what they are doing. And it's, you know, I mean, labor, it's not necessarily, I mean, I know we see a bunch of people coming over the border or have in previous years, but like labor's a really serious issue. I mean, like that's part
at all levels.
At all levels. Yeah. And that's part of what is driving AI and automation.
Yeah.
It's not just because it like, you know, reduces costs and this, that, and the other. It's just like there's not as much labor as there used to be.
Yeah.
Not just in the U.S., but in the world. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, developing areas across the Americas. You know, Japan, like, you know,
China,
Europe, China, Japan.
Population decline.
Time, It is so interesting to me. It's not outside the Black Death. And, you know, like maybe World War II, like you really don't see like naturally, like this is like crazy to have like a natural like birth decline. Like people are just having less kids, you know. Yeah. Of course, it was like in China it was like mandated and stuff, but like here it was just a factor.
Yeah, that really backfired on them.
Urbanizing. Yeah. I was like, it's like that was like a Mao's miscalculation, you know, like that was.
Well, and that's why, because there's a lot of it. We have more information than we've ever had.
Right.
People are more or less educated at a highest level that they've ever been that we know of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The problem with more information is how much information is actually true. Right. You know what I mean? And like how much information do people get online every day from different social media places or whatever else? Yeah. And you're like, just look at it, you're like, this is
it's overwhelming. There's so much stuff, and I think it's meant to be that way.
Yeah.
You know? Where
I think you're right.
You're more confused after the fact.
Yeah.
You're like, well, now I have choice anxiety. Right? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. There's like 40,000 solutions.
There's 40,000 things that it could be. And like, you know, people look at like Russia, Ukraine, for example. Like people look at like, how could the Russian people believe XYZ as well? Because their news organizations, there's multiple of them, and they throw out multiple different messages. And so like, how would you know what's going on? You know, hopefully like the younger people can like see, you know, the media and stuff and like, you know, get to like YouTube and stuff, for example. But like, I don't know, like serious news. I pretty much like follow like individuals only, or take some
I get my news from podcast, bro.
That's seriously. Almost. It's like, okay, this is real.
This is real shit right here.
Well, it's like
we're solving problems.
Okay, it's like this is the topic. I'm gonna do my own research. Because for forever way back when, like you would listen to the radio and then people listen to the TV, and so it's like, okay, this is 100% fact. Whereas like now, it's like,
did you ever go to the library and read about stuff? I feel like when I was a kid, I used to do that.
Yeah,
like before AOL,
well, you had to.
Yeah,
because it you
have a library card.
You stare at a computer screen for 10 minutes and then finally load that document.
Right. Get that dial up running. Put it in the floppy disk.
It's like, oh man, today I guess I'm learning about woodworking.
Right.
Sit down and
that was the only way to do that, man.
No. But no, that's something that's just like I think I did a senior seminar in like undergrad for like developmental economics. I got a degree in economics and marketing, and so it's like, it's sort of interesting. It's like, we're very open to taking doctors from all over the world, but like, how much per GDP output for a country or society, say Pakistan, do they have to put into someone to have a doctor compared to us? And then we just send them this. We'll take your doctor. Come on.
Stay
and it's like, of course I want more doctors and whatnot, of course, but at the same time it's like,
can't.
Pakistan probably needs doctors more than we do. You know what I mean? Like,
that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying like, and so and obviously I don't know what the solution is, but it's just like a observation with regards to labor. So
I think the incentives
but you got to practice, because
right.
I mean we're not going to take everybody.
Yeah, true. True.
So it's.
I actually like the idea of like an expedited system for like high need fields.
Yeah,
right. Other countries do that.
I think they do.
Right.
I don't know enough about that to really comment too, but I'm pretty positive with that we do have like visa expedition on
for like engineers and whatnot, I would imagine.
Yeah, for certain fields from trades. Yeah.
No, I think that's good. I think that's great, but it's just like, I mean, we definitely, I feel like we need a lot more engineers, people with wear big thick glasses type things. I don't think there's. I saw like an infographic of the amount of engineers who graduate in China versus here, and it was like, this could be a serious issue at some point or another.
Everybody wants to be a TikTok, YouTube star now, or an influencer.
Right.
Knowing what
everybody wants to play their video games and stream.
Yeah. Let me take a selfie. Yeah.
I say that, and meanwhile Levi's behind the glass shaking his head. He's like,
he's like, yeah, dude. Yeah. I want to do this.
Yeah. Just like, dude.
Well, how fortunate are we living in a time where you can monetize that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Absolutely. No, I follow
but everybody can't be a TikTok star.
Absolutely.
YouTube
star.
Somebody's
got to deliver their groceries.
Right.
That's true.
Somebody's got to build their house, mow their lawn.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Levi's pointing at Billy.
I do like mowing lawn. Do you get me a riding lawnmower? I'll be there on Sundays.
Oh, yeah. Nothing better than mowing your own lawn while having a beer. They make cup holders on riding lawnmowers
they do.
For a reason.
Two of them.
Okay, I'm just
one on each side.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Takes you a solid hour. That's a 2-beer hour.
It's a 2-beer hour for sure.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was walking down the sidewalk of my neighborhood. I'm like, this grass is fucking good, right? It's all perfectly even.
Yeah, that's how you know. That's how you know you're getting older.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's
the lawn starts to become a little bit more of a showpiece.
Bro, I'll tell you how you know you're getting older. You throw out your back, and I've done it this year, and I did it last year as well. It's
you have like a hard sneeze, or like what?
That's precisely what it was, bro. Yeah. Like I was bending over to pick a pan, grab a pan out of a cupboard, and like sneeze while I was doing it.
While you were bending?
It was like I started thinking, I started like contemplating life after that. I'm like, bro, am I gonna die soon? I don't think I have as much runway as I thought. Damn. Like,
honey, the end is near.
Like, yeah. Next thing I know, I see the wife's laptop. She was opening life insurance policies. It was weird. Yeah.
Bro, I slept on my arm weird like a couple weeks ago, and it hurt for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Remember, I was like taking pain. We were in Chicago. I was like taking pain pills. I was like, this is excruciating.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, I might have to get surgery. I was like, it wasn't that traumatic, you know?
I gotta get some physical therapy. Like,
something, yeah. It was bad.
Yeah, no, definitely time to start thinking about self-care, as they say. Yeah,
this is like rabbit hole number 6.
Shit, you know?
I don't even think we came back from the last rabbit hole. I think we just burrowed over this one.
I think so. Yeah.
I told you, I warned you.
Right.
You know, I was like, it's going to be some business, some great tips, and then we're going to have at some point somebody's going to say something, and then everybody's going to follow. Right? It's like the lemmings off of a cliff.
Right.
It's like that's the other two. It could be any one of us.
Those National Geographic wildebeest videos where they go off.
Yes, what happened to those? They don't show those anymore.
They really don't. No.
The nature's metal,
Yeah, exactly.
Into those.
Dude, those are cool shows, man.
I really like those.
Those shorts.
I really like those. David Attenborough, he narrates some. He's like, Mr. Nature. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no.
Well, let's come back to. I know we're going back to boring subject.
Let's circle back around.
Let's come back to SBA stuff and lending stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, big changes just made.
Yep.
Some policy changes.
Yes. Yeah. So guarantee fees for all loans under $1 million now. It used to be if it was $1 million or below, there was no SBA guarantee fee, and so that's years ago prior to Trump. That's the way it was, or prior to Biden, that's the way it was, and so they're just reinstituting some old mechanisms within the SBA 7A program that there was there previously.
Do you think that's encouraged participation? Or just kind of reduce some of the barriers for some of those startups?
During Biden's time in power, the SBA was doing so how we talked about it in the beginning, now the seller can finance up to 50% of the cash injection. Under Biden, it was the seller can finance up to 75% of the cash injection. And
so it's a reduction.
Yep. Yeah. And so it's a reduction. And so I am sort of puzzled by that. I think we mentioned at some point, it's like every single baby boomer is, at age 65 or maybe even older by 2030. And so to really pass these businesses along or, commercial real estate or other assets, it's like you really need to start getting young people into them. And so it's like, so the more open, the more broad the parameters, you can get more folks in, And obviously you want people to have a certain amount of skin in the game. But, really it's a big generation. And so, ability for folks to get their hands around some is super important. Now, obviously, some of those assets and whatnot, businesses are going to be inherited and passed down that way, and or creative financing, some sort of seller financing option.
I think that's going to be the biggest opportunity for our generation. Is that, right?
Yeah.
Is when they all age out, they're selling their businesses, they're retiring, and they're kind of there now.
Right.
And in Alaska, we have a unique market in the sense that all the people that were really successful sent their kids to college and somewhere else.
Yep.
And that's where they're raising their families, so they're not here.
They don't want to come back or take over the businesses. It's actually super common for kids not to want to take over the family business.
Totally. Totally.
I can't imagine Nathan or Caitlin want to be a realtor after watching me on the phone all the time.
I know, seriously.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be on the phone a lot, or computer emailing or whatever.
That's how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of it. Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is because of the lack of just software initiation and adoption of software, and basically as the owner of these businesses, they're not taking themselves out of the business.
Right.
Right. And putting things into play so that when they go to sell the business, it's this like prepackaged thing. Right. So right now, a lot of them are the business.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you sell that? Like, if I remove you, the business completely fails.
It's gone.
So we have to take the road for that. How do we help those people implement things that make their business more marketable when that time comes?
Absolutely, and that's why I think and this may be to some degree why you're seeing more just like general business advisors pop on the market.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's like, okay,
you need to get it ready for sale.
Right, get it ready for sale. It's like selling a business, like that might be like a 2-year adventure just getting it ready to sell.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like, I know there's like a lot of businesses up here that are seasonal and whatnot. For example, and like, maybe being prepared to leave $100K or whatever on the balance sheet so, the people can pay rent or do whatever they need to do, operate in order to get it, on to the next person.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And so often you see with SBA lending is, people will get into an asset, get into a business, whatever it is, and at some point they'll refi into a bank or a credit union, more traditional financing because they then 5-7 years down the road, whatever it is, they're then able to fit within the parameters of a bank loan. And I mean we consider that a success story. Is you're able to you did your thing and you paid the loan and now you're able to refi into some type of traditional commercial mortgage.
Right.
So
well, I mean, at the end, it was like I think SBA published it was like 93% of small businesses just close.
Right.
They don't ever sell.
Right.
Which is a lost opportunity. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, there's some. So there's a certain amount of businesses in that data set that's like they're maybe some sort of old retail sales type of thing that is going to be gone no matter what, no matter who's running it.
Right.
But at the same time,
natural attrition.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like there's plenty of businesses that just they're not set up to sale. They've been writing their all their income off for years, and it's like. Oh, it turns out that's a pretty serious issue when you're going to sell the business or whatever.
Those last
it is.
10 Blockbuster stores probably sold it. Right.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a discounted.
That last one might maybe a premium.
Right. Right. And that's important to think about too because that's something we look at when you do an SBA loan is an industrial analysis.
Yeah.
Not saying you wouldn't do that for a conventional loan, but you're definitely going to be looking at it more and doing a real serious analysis.
100%.
Those reports are not cheap, by the way.
No. And those
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure.
Ton of work.
Definitely lean on your small business development center if you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we should actually bring that up real quick.
Yeah.
And that is because of a lot of business owners just don't know where to start.
Right.
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 Obviously, you guys will give them advice on how to kind of prepare themselves for buying a business, et cetera.
Yep.
Right. And I know you guys do a fantastic job over there. I've known Dunbar for a while, and he provides amazing advice. But the small business SBA does have small business development centers throughout the United States in your areas. We have one here.
Right.
It's completely free.
Yep.
It's all. It's all private. They don't, disclose, what you're trying to do to other people or anything else. It's all protected information. And so it's a fantastic resource.
Yeah.
And it really sets people up to go see you.
Right.
How to prepare a business plan.
Or
how to prepare a projections.
Absolutely.
Or, all the information you guys are going to need.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Like, there's only so much you can do to walk people through that.
Yeah.
Right? These guys will set you all up, look at some of that information on, are you looking to go into swimsuit designs?
Right.
They will look at the entire nation on businesses.
Is this really viable in Alaska?
Yes. Yeah. Right. And they will let you guys know. It might be a market for it. You know what I mean?
Right. Shout out to my advisor. Thank you. But I worked with the SBDC. We worked through the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
They helped me with all my projections and my business plan. Like I had kind of a general idea, but they packaged it because they know what the lenders are looking for.
Right.
So they're like, hey, these are the things that they're going to be looking for. Here's what you got to do. Right. And that really helped me. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, you really don't, and that's helpful if you're buying a business or selling a business. On either end, it's very important thing to be looking for sure. And like I say, if you're selling a business, like, be looking a couple of years in advance and like, hey, is this, can someone actually buy this? Is it like, all the income is, like I say, being written off? This is a real serious issue.
Yeah.
And also if you're in the market for a loan, like just go see what your capacity, go to your local bank, go to your local SBA lender and see what your capacity is. Like, can I even do this? Is this, right. And that way and if it's not something you could do right now, okay, I know where I need to be, and it's just a super important thing to, that way you're not wasting your time or anyone else's too.
Yep.
And B, it's like, okay, I can get a actual goal put on the board,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's, how often do people check their credit or, have, tax returns or whatever else, it's every single business owner wants to write off as much as possible because they don't want to pay Uncle Sam, right? But when you do that,
it impacts
it impacts your lendability.
That'd be an issue.
If you show $0 of income last year, the lender's going to be like, cool, man.
Right.
Not sure how I'm supposed to get paid back if you made $0 last year.
Right.
Or negative 7,000, right?
Or like negative 200,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's, depreciation, amortization, and interest to add back. But, and maybe you have a one-time expense that could be added back as well. But yeah, it's just, it's important to think about, like, when you're renewing your line of credit or whatever, it's like, where is this going? But speaking on the personal side for a little bit, like, if you want to, like, for example, if you want to increase your credit score, the idea is to use have a small balance compared to the amount of credit available, and then pay it off every month.
Yeah,
and
there's some tricks for that.
There is tricks.
Yeah.
Like knowing when they report and what it is they're looking for.
There's a tricks to it.
Absolutely. And so so what do you do? So if you're a W-2 employee, for example, you start a new job, you get a raise. Okay, call. Everyone's up here has the Bank of America Alaska Airlines card, with the exception of Justin, due to personal vendetta. But
nope. Yes.
JK, no. Check out the social
media.
I'm
a big Delta fan. Okay?
Delta's got the TV.
They're an Amex guy. They're an Amex company. Okay.
But yeah, okay. And then so like I say, go to a new job, get a raise. You can then call your credit card company and be like, hey, I got a raise. It's this. And a lot of times it's either a soft pull or, they don't really require a lot of documentation, And so that's a really great way to increase your credit score, is having more credit available to you, in addition to paying it off monthly. Because look, folks, like those things are with you for 7 years. If you got late payments and, any sort of bankruptcy, it's personal bankruptcy, that's with you for 7 years. So
long time.
It's a long while. So think about that kind of stuff. When in personal loans, what doesn't fall off your credit report when you declare bankruptcy is personal loans. They're with you forever until you get them paid off or forgiven by the government, whatever the case may be.
You're talking about for like education and stuff.
Yeah, like for education, loans.
And like student loans, all that jazz.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah,
it's nuts. And so
that's a racket.
So you definitely want to be working on things like that, and then also like Justin mentioned, American Express. I mean, if you're opening a small business, getting a credit card with that company, they offer lines of credit for up to $100K for new businesses and stuff.
I get those goddamn ads all the time.
Yeah,
at least once a week I get it in my mail.
Sometimes I'm curious. I'm like, I wonder if this is.
It's fat, dude.
Some of them are real, though.
Oh, yeah. American Express, I got one. I got a line of credit.
I remember you were telling me about that.
Yeah,
it's like they have good bank accounts and stuff, too.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like high-yield bank accounts.
Yeah, they're actually really good.
High-yield savings. And a while ago, I got someone sent me a deposit from an American Express account via email.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, that is super cool.
No, they make it really cool to spend money.
Yeah. Right. Look at all those neat ways.
Very efficient across the board to spend money.
Yeah. I actually like that though. It's quick.
Right.
Yeah. I use the travel portal a lot, like, because I've got so many points and all that.
Absolutely.
Because all of our business operations have run on Amexes. Yeah. You know, it's kind of worse get paid off monthly, but I mean, dude, between all of our cleaning fees and Aspire and everything else, dude, it's like...
Yeah, the monthly, it goes up quickly.
Yeah, it's like... I'm like, those points add up, bro.
Right,
That's sweet.
And so, and I mean, different places, Bank of America has a, after you've been in 2 years, you can get a $100K term loan. And I can't, a lot of it's based off credit report.
Of course,
and, like a year or two taxes. They don't require a heck of a lot, but
no, it's pretty short.
It's pretty slim, and I believe Wells Fargo has a line of credit element too for like small businesses and whatnot. But the point is, if you don't need. You may not need a loan now, but at some point in the future. So just like have a level of preparedness and some lever to pull because your business is going to change.
Well, you either need massive cash reserves, right, or you have the ability to access lines of credit, right,
and both are great.
Both are fantastic, right? And so I'm like, have both if you can get both, right? You don't have to use a line of credit, but having it available is
and if you can't, get a helmet and
awesome.
go anyway.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's because, I mean, it's any small business. I mean, COVID could all of a sudden hit, regulation changes could hit, or whatever else, right? You need to be able to weather the storm, and it's imperative to have some type of access to money. Whether it's your own, right, or somebody else's with
great Aunt Lucy, whatever.
Rich Aunt Lucy.
And it comes down, I think, to documentation and being kind of orderly, right?
Yes.
So like having the financial statements, maybe we get QuickBooks and we use some of those integrations, and that's we can generate these reports and measure things so we can make adjustments, and then when it comes time, we have a way to communicate that. With the thing.
And that brings us back into like having software because all of them have the ability to just pull reports instantaneously.
It's pretty cool.
But if you don't use the softwares, dude, I had a client give me a tax return for their business, and they don't have any software, and their CPA is older and doesn't really use like a software, and they printed off their tax returns, and it was like
that many pages.
It was a binder. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I need the digital format of this.
I need my Control F.
I do not personally own a copier that can throw in 700 pages, double-sided, and then go scan it all in. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
This is
like, I haven't seen something that big besides like a policy book in forever, let alone.
I feel like I need to go to a museum to see a book that big.
And I'm like, if you're trying to sell your business and you give that to a buyer, or a lender or whoever, they're going to look at you and be like, can you please give me a digital copy?
I like how they do resale certificates on a binder. I'm like, what am I?
I know, dude. It's bad. Thank God, that's super rare these days, but it still happens.
Oh, certainly. It's like, you need to rework.
This is cute, but is there any way I can get it digitally?
Yeah.
And you send it to a printer somehow.
And speaking of digitally, it's all about efficiency and whatnot, but not losing that human element, I think is a good thing too. Because I've talked to people who went to YouTube University, which is fine. But at the same time, it's there's people online telling people oh, you can buy a business with 0% in or a piece of real estate with 0% down, and that's not impossible. But it's
rare.
Unlikely. And so wildly unlikely. So
0% down now, but you had to put something in to gain equity to be able to leverage, right?
At some point.
So there's some element of the story.
Right. Yeah. And so it's time. So with SBA lending, for example, okay, if you operate, you have a business and you're operating in the same NAICS code as the business you want to buy, you're in the same area. Okay, you're eligible to buy that business with 0% down. That is possible. The institute, and that's the SBA rule. However, the lending institution institution may have a different rule. Like you may have to put at least something down.
An overlay.
Of some kind, have some element, some
reduction
amount
of
skin in
liability.
the game. Yeah. Like that's just
common.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, and the only other instance, like I said earlier, was like, hey, if you own a business and then you're going to buy the piece of real estate or the lot that you operate out of, and you have enough assets, enough equity in the business, then you don't got to bring anything to closing, and you don't need anything down. You have enough equity into the business already. Yeah. But it's very like the it's a slim window, So
man, it's amazing.
But people get on YouTube and online and all, like there's like certain scams out there for sure. Like take this course and this course and this course and like
I say that all the time.
Yeah,
it makes me think I could do it.
I know it's like, wait a second, I could
or just like you'll see, especially in the real estate world, I'll see these deals pop up right on some of these like real estate forums,
right,
and I'm just looking at it and I'm like, how the hell did you get any of these numbers? Right. I'm like, and it barely pencils as an Airbnb in a market where Airbnb is tanking.
Right.
Like,
it's like,
so like if you were to like plug this in with long-term rents, this thing is so upside down,
right.
And just across but people will go and buy these things and do seller finance or these 40-year mortgages or whatever. And they're like, oh, as long as it pencils $100 a month. Right. And I'm like, dude, $100 a month, $1,200 of income a year on a property is like zero.
It's like zero.
It's nothing.
And then upkeep and maintenance.
Well, maybe if you already
one issue
segregated it
and
out,
it's
like
gone,
reserves,
you're upside down.
Yeah, you know. So maybe if the $100 a month after allocation for reserves and insurance, and
maybe there's a certain deal out there, but like at the same time, it's like I've seen a lot of those deals where it's like why don't you when from you all's perspective, like when you're pricing the business or a piece of real estate, whatever, it's like, okay, like I need to leave enough meat on the bone so I can get as most amount of buyers possible, yet get the best price I can for my seller. And so I don't know. I'm just always curious to maybe get your guys' thoughts of like, what's your sort of thought process when you talk to, what's that seller like what's that conversation like with the seller? Like, hey, I'm going to get top dollar for this for you. You could be a cash buyer, it could be an SBA buyer, it could be a conventional loan buyer. Like, what's that conversation like?
Most of the time, they have homework to do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Right. Like, if I removed you from the business or from whatever, right?
Right.
Are you easily replaceable?
Yeah.
Or are you imperative to the operation of the business?
Yeah.
Right. Like, if you died tomorrow, would your business still run? If the answer is no, you don't have a business to sell.
Right.
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 Because at any point in time, someone can just wait for that to happen.
Yeah.
And then go buy all of your inventory at an estate sale for a massive discount, and then open your exact business right next door.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you have to create the business, right? Like, you have to create a package without you in it.
Yes.
Yep. And so it's like most of the time, most people don't have the property ready for sale. They don't have the business ready for sale. And so it's more consultation in the beginning than anything else to get them to that point. And and then it's checking in on them. Hey, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done inventory?
Yeah.
Here's an introduction to here, introduction here. You know what I mean? So it's like connecting the dots, putting the puzzle together, so that way they can see the finished puzzle at the end.
Right.
Right. And then most of the time, it's managing expectations because, especially in the small business world, they have built this baby.
Yeah, this is their baby.
It's their
and
child.
so
this is their baby. Yeah.
They have this just really sometimes ridiculous idea of how much CapEx they're going to get on the sale.
Like,
and
that's what it's worth to you.
Yeah.
Everyone else.
Joe Blow coming in is not going to pay that.
Right.
And your inventory, like, no one's going to pay retail pricing for your inventory they're buying.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's just not there.
I'm like, they're not going to pay you full retail value for your inventory. They're going to pay you most likely what you bought it for plus a discount on top of it. You know what I mean? Because your inventory is like, it's just inventory.
It's just inventory.
It's just inventory, especially if you have too much inventory. Like, I talked to you about this.
Or whatever,
sell off some of your inventory,
right. Like make the product sellable. Like you want the most amount of buyers. Okay, make it to where the most amount of people can hop in here and run the show. That makes sense to me. Yeah, for sure.
And then usually it's like, especially if they've been very inherent to the business and they have a lot of business relationships established. Yep. Then the conversation is, okay, are you willing to stay on for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Right. To help make that transition for the new owner.
Right.
Because you need to make the introduction to all of your relationships, right? That this person's taking over.
Right.
Right. Especially if you kind of are the business. If you're not willing to do that, then...
hey, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And that makes it super helpful on my end. Why? Because it's like, okay, like, hey, the seller's gonna like either be on as an employee or a consultant, and then for a month or 2 or 3 or whatever, and then for a month or 2 or 3 after that, so 6 months total, like they'll be available via phone, video call, whatever, and like like that way there's a smooth transition, and it's like a good element to add to a write-up or whatever. When you're
it doesn't have to be full time.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be full time, but just like
you have to paint that picture because you're like, hey, you stay on for 12 months. You're like, man, I don't want to work in this business for another 12 months, and you're like, well. First off, somebody has to buy your business.
Yeah.
Right. B, it's going to be, maybe super part-time, almost full-time for the first few months, right? To kind of give them the opportunity to kind of like get in, mix in the business, see how you operate things. Right. Introduce you to their customer base.
Yes.
Or their vendors or whoever else. Make that introduction. Say, hey, just a heads up, this person's buying the business. We're finally retiring. They're going to do an awesome job, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then over the next 3 months, like your hours go from, 30 down to 10.
Right.
And then from 6 months to 12 months, you're like, hey, reach out on a phone call basis. This is more consultation services if you have any issues, right?
Right.
And then at 12 months or 6 months or whatever, it's drop dead. Like,
Adios.
Mai
Tais, margaritas.
Yeah. I'll most likely be drunk on the beach if you try to call me.
I'll send you an emoji of a margarita here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's almost always expectations, right? Because expectations can be skewed on what, especially if they're reading online, what the potential CapEx is going to be, or YouTubing it, or whatever else, and the realistic market value of something, is going to be far different, especially if they're looking at a national scale of things, and not Anchorage based. I'm like, we see it all the time. It's like they'll pull up different media styles, and you're like, okay, cool, like. This is not Alaska.
Right.
Like,
it's not going to resonate.
Different market.
And, yeah, in terms of a data set, like, you would definitely, like, omit Alaska and Hawaii. I mean, there's such outliers, you know, and like
100%.
Like I said earlier, like, there's institutions, plenty of it. Even most, wouldn't lend in Alaska. It's just not within their purview.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, yeah.
It's a unique market, I think. It benefits you to have some ground knowledge.
Right. And I mean, you see institutions like Bank of America. I think they used to be here, have a branch here. Wells Fargo, they limited their relationship with Alaska big time.
Yep.
And so it's like you see these certain institutions like, pulling out of Alaska.
Or we never even got them.
Or never,
Yeah, we don't have a Chase. We don't have a Bank of America. I mean, like all the national chains are not here.
True.
Besides Wells.
Yeah.
Right.
And
like, even Wells
it's limited. There's one in the mall, down. Right? There's a couple.
There's a few of them, but they're they pulled their entire residential mortgage section.
Right.
They still have the commercial sector.
They do, but if you're not a multi-million-dollar person, or organization, like you're going to you're going to be dealing with someone on the lower 48, 100%.
Yeah.
Like they have I don't know, like 12, 13, 14, 50, people, commercial loan officers here in Anchorage. Like it's not a lot, you know?
Yeah.
It's changing. It's changing a whole lot, and like more and more the loan officer, if not already in most places, the loan officer is more of a relationship
liaison
manager type thing. And so you're just the forward facing person, whereas they're the back office is getting larger. There's the internal appraisal build out is getting they're doing more and more stuff internally and stuff like that. And so, like I said, underwriters are starting to do some like annual term loan reviews and whatnot. And this is just like I'm sure this stuff has like long been happening in the lower 48, but in Alaska it's like somewhat relatively new, you know. And so that trend is definitely on the rise. Is more and more underwriters, and like I say, loan officer being more of the front-facing relationship manager. But
relationship building is
it's huge.
What I do like about business banking and commercial lending and just like the business world is it is very relationship based. So you do need that, right? But Alaska and Hawaii are just so secluded, that you almost need the relationship based stuff.
Yeah, you really do.
People don't want to call 3 hours ahead and deal with someone on the East Coast that has no idea anything about Alaska, right?
Yeah.
And Alaskans are very pro-Alaska, very supportive of like Alaska-based businesses, which is, I think, partially why you don't see some of the national brands here, right? But we're also a very small market.
We're a very small market.
People don't realize that, but like 290,000 people is a tiny city. Small. So it's like, we just don't have the population growth and we're declining. So it's like, hey, not only are you a population center that's declining, but you're also a small market. So like, outside investment is going to be very limited.
Yeah, it's not attractive.
It's not attractive.
Exactly. And it's like, for a lending institution in the lower 48, their parameters are going to be for, lending in the lower 48. Yeah. Their policy, their lending policy is going to be specifically for that market area, And having said that, like, picking a local spot, especially out of the gate, your closing is probably going to be quicker. There's probably certain things that are going to be better out of the gate. Just like I say, the lending policy for Alaska-based institutions are for Alaska.
Alaska-based, yeah.
But if you're, say you get halfway through, a 20-year ammo, 10-year term, and you're coming up on a balloon payment or whatever the case may be, maybe you're just thinking about refi, whatever. On that second time around, there could be instances where, you get a little bit better rate at a larger place and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, Chase and BOA, hands down, have better rates.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's
scale, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
It's they can soak up more business because they have a larger portfolio, so they can have a little bit lower rates. Not only that, like both at Bank of America, I mean they really diversified, and so like a lot of these institutions have.
Yeah.
And so Merrill Lynch is Bank of America is Merrill Lynch, and so they have multiple ends of the overall financial spectrum covered to kind of help balance out their books and get more customers really. So it's like I say, to me, using a local place out the gate makes a lot of sense, and then down the road, because it's probably potentially most likely going to be a longer closing.
Yeah,
just communicating with whoever you're communicating with.
Almost half a day.
You're gonna lose half a day, and so it's gonna take twice as long.
Yeah.
So in the middle of a buy sell, probably
it's
not that worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah. But like you say, if you're gonna do a refi and you got 6-8 months to do it, whatever, send it. So
okay. I feel like we're probably at an hour, maybe a little bit more.
Cool. Is that what you guys usually do? Is an hour, or do you do longer?
I mean,
just kind of let it go until it's
we kind of like get to a point.
I'm just
where
saying,
you know what it is?
2 hours is a long time.
2 hours is a long time. What I do is I have this intuition in my butt. It sounds weird, but it's like, at what point is like the chair starting to get, is my butt starting to get like, I have to start changing positions more often?
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we're there.
I feel like we've mission over.
Billy is just dying.
Billy's like,
I'm like, I clarified. It says sounds weird.
Justin's butt gauge.
Dude, you need to have something on the wall that says Justin.
On the door, yeah.
People will walk in instantly. What the am I doing here?
You know what? Before I remodeled this place, it was super, like, rapey.
It was like a dungeon.
It was dungeony.
Yeah.
It was like
even
red carpet.
Downstairs in the basement, scary. Like where
this place was fucking creepy as shit.
Like not enough lighting type thing.
Yeah, dude, I was like, it's so funny because people are like, hey, Justin, go show me your project. I want to do it on. I take them down here. They're like,
let's go back upstairs.
You're like, so where are you taking me, man? And I'm like, no, I swear.
It's just around the corner, I swear. Another corner?
Dude, and the lights didn't work, and it was just like, some like flashlight, dude. Oh, gosh. Dude, it was not good. Anyways, it looks so much better like this.
Yeah, dude, you've done an amazing job with this
studio
and everything. It looks so nice, and like just the whole property in general is
Thanks,
so
man.
awesome. Like,
I appreciate that.
Spot.
So I prepped you already, so I'm hoping you gave it a little bit of thought.
Oh yeah, 5 questions. I totally
5 answers, not five questions. It's one question with 5 answers.
Gotcha.
This is not multiple choice either.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the question is, we ask everybody, if you were to give advice to your younger self on either as a business owner, entrepreneur.
Right.
I mean, it could even be like life advice to help out. Like, you're coming out of high school and you want to give yourself advice, right?
Yeah.
5 tips that you'd give your younger self or another fellow business owner, entrepreneur.
Gosh,
the time machine debacle.
I know. Go back in time. Because if I could tell myself, my younger self just wouldn't listen no matter what. So,
Probably right.
Dude, that's my.
Sadly, yeah. So no, I would just say, life advice. I would say, talk less and listen more.
Ooh, that's a good one. Actually, I don't think we've had that yet.
No, that's a new one.
That's number 1.
That's called wisdom, son. No.
Mic drop. That's it. I don't even need 4.
Yeah. And just pay attention to. I feel like one thing I did do a good job of is like asking people about their like marriage and stuff. Because it's like because for me it's like, well, that guy's been divorced 4 times.
Don't relationship advice, not that guy.
Right, yeah. or this person's been married 30 years or whatever, and it's just like that always interested me. So just like tell the younger self, like really think about their relationship that you want to have, I guess would be
that's a good advice.
One.
I don't think we've had that either.
That's another life advice, I guess. But
dose.
Right. Save your money. Being single doesn't last very long. And that's in a rap song, in case you didn't recognize that. So
that's hilarious.
Cypress Hill. To quote Cypress Hill, the great Cypress Hill.
That's awesome.
And then let's see. Write down your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And
like manifestation kind of thing.
Yeah. And what's funny? I had a 6th grade teacher, 5th, 4th grade, some middle school teacher had us write down all of our goals and whatnot, and right around age 20 or something, she sent them to you, and
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And
what did yours say?
Well, it was
get a skateboard. No, I'm just kidding.
Seriously, one of them was loan officer. And
really?
One of them was to go to college, and it was a couple of different things, and then there was another one, economist or politician or something like that.
It sounds like your teacher was a witch, bro.
She may have been.
You guys were spell casting.
Can I tell you something hilarious, maybe slightly inappropriate, but I also sent my middle school self sent me $10 and a condom.
And a condom?
This is probably 8th grade.
That's awesome.
I was like, what?
Like, shit's fine, crusty as hell. So
yeah, it's like fully expired, and not a good.
The $10 or the condom?
Well, yeah,
both basically.
But it was like, yeah, and
due to inflation, it's now worth 3 cents.
Zero, yeah. It's like not a good return on the $10 in terms of.
That's okay. If you could get it at that rate, that'd be
dope.
So just writing stuff down, and then
that's 3.
Is that 3 or 4?
That's 3.
Gosh,
I know.
Writing stuff down is a good one.
It's just good to know where you're driving type of thing.
Okay.
And then I would say travel some. Do have some great life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Do all that stuff. The only thing you get to take with you when you die is your experiences. That's it. There's nothing coming with you.
Yep.
And then I would say, lastly, you want to have. I would tell my younger self, don't be too wrapped in the moment. Relax more, but also have more patience. It'll happen. Whatever it is, whatever you want, it'll happen. But you just have to, it'll happen. Maybe not when you want it to, but it'll happen at some point, the right time. And so more often than not, I feel like we don't get to decide what the right time is. You make the decisions to put yourself in a certain position. But also, it's like if the timing's not right, no matter how much, you can't always just like force it.
Yeah,
the point.
100%. Timing's everything, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think part of that too is don't wait too long.
Yeah, very much so.
Don't wait for the right time.
Because it's never the right time. It's never the right time.
Yeah.
And and then one other, and I think pretty much everyone knows this after the pandemic. This is, I guess, maybe more of a pandemic thing, but I think it's important to have multiple revenue streams if possible, or that be a goal of some kind, whether it be rental property, a business, sell insurance on the side. I just, bankers are notoriously conservative and, don't have much going on outside of their day job. But some do. There's a certain percentage of some do, but I just whatever industry that you're in, I feel like it's super important to have, trying to have multiple things going. That should be the goal. Just
that was number 6, bro. You threw an extra, dude. This is bonus. This is extra credit.
Double fist in these words of wisdom. Dropping bombs, grenades, sir.
Douche. That's awesome, dude. Well, hey, thanks for coming on and bringing all the awesome information about SBA and what you guys do. And come check us out. Check out the website. Feel free to give me a call. And definitely, so often it's a conversation first, and then it slowly becomes more real over time. So happy to have any conversations. So where can people find you? Like, what is that website and info?
AlaskaGrowthCapital.com. And, you can always find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to message me or friend me. Hit me up, and I will respond back to you with a smiley face emoji, a thumbs up, and let's go get a coffee.
Love it, dude. Well, thanks for coming on, Dunbar. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Take care.